Hey y'all, welcome to the Team LocoFit Roundtable, hosted by me, Lauren Conlon, owner of Team LocoFit. Each week, I am joined by one of our coaches to dive headfirst into the nutrition, training, mindset, and coaching strategies we use with our clients. If you loved the show, please subscribe, leave us a review, tell a friend, you know the drill. And for more information about coaching, the programs we offer, and additional content, visit teamlocofit.com.
Hello. Yeah. always have to do.
Starting off with some soft ASMR. By Coach Jillian.
So apparently, well, you know, I know we always joke about AMSR, but it really is
ASMR.
like, oh, what did I say?
AMSR.
Oh, whatever that. Apparently, it is a whole thing, and I was trying to download. I went on the App Store for something. I can't even remember what it was now.
Why is it coming up in your recommended apps, Lauren?
No, it was like the most popular. It was like the popular page.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't.
It's like a meaningless game, though. It's not like you can do anything with it.
But I think it wasn't. It was soap cutting AMSR. So I'm imagining it was just the sound.
No, it's like you actually like go through the app and you like cut the soap.
Do you have this app? Is that how you?
I don't have the app. I've had an app before. Where it was like a multitude of different ASMR things, and I was like, let me just try it out. Like, is this actually like a game? Like, is it actually like gonna do it? It's stupid.
Is this soothing?
There's too many ads, okay?
And
it's not the same. It's not the same as actually like doing it, I guess. Even though I don't cut soap, but I would imagine. Like, this is just not what I do in my free time, guys.
I mean,
but I would imagine there's no rhyme or reason for a game. It's just kind of like a trend.
Yeah, I thought it would just be like the sound, but I guess I didn't download it, so that's what the fuck was I downloading? I hate apps. I'm like,
we can do like a whole YouTube video on just you reacting to ASMR apps.
Me just reacting to the internet.
And then just hashtag it ASMR and then all the views.
Viral.
Not really, but
we're going viral.
Are you viral on TikTok yet? Are you famous on TikTok yet?
No. I just start cutting soap and just stare into the camera. It's like,
It's like, is this rock bottom? This is rock bottom.
This is what rock bottom feels like. New trend, rock bottom. All right. Speaking of rock bottom.
Only rock bottom if you stop digging.
True. This is actually not rock bottom, but we found this Facebook group. And it was a competition-focused
it's like
Facebook
competition
group.
Prep for like female competitors.
Yeah, somebody told me about this, and I was like, Jill, get on it.
With my laptop, my phone.
And I wanted to look through this because it's often important, kind of how we've done some of the other trends, to just see like what are people talking about, right? Like where do we need to improve in the industry? What do we need to clear up?
Yeah.
What are some, possibly, important things we need to share with everybody?
Just like dispel any myths or anything.
Yeah, and because a lot of people don't know, what they don't know, right?
Yeah.
And this whole world of online coaching, while
just social media in the fitness space in general.
Yeah. Well, but it feels normal to us because obviously this is what we do. We know a lot of other online coaches. We know people who have online coaches. So it seems like a very normal industry for us. But imagine you don't know anybody. You don't know any coaches. Yeah. And you don't know anybody who's ever hired an online coach. But then you stumble upon someone.
This Facebook group.
And you're like, wait, is this normal? Is this not? So we have a few situations that we just wanted to discuss. And then a few, important things, topics that came up. And really the overarching theme is this is where you talk to a coach and you don't just ask random people on a Facebook group. Yeah, .net. Asking random strangers.
Like, honestly, going into this Facebook group, because normally when I go on Facebook, I do it to like pass the time, right? Or like if I'm like in a waiting room, I just scroll through Facebook. So going into this Facebook group, I was
Join bread groups.
Oh yeah, there's a group I'm in on Facebook where it's like a group. It's literally called a group where we all pretend we're pieces of bread. Now that I say that out loud,
I shouldn't even brought this up. Now I'm like embarrassed. I like secondhand embarrassment.
Listen, I was just like, I'm scrolling through
Jill
Facebook.
Is the top contributor.
I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see this recommended group to join, and I'm like, okay, the Amazon ads, we've talked about this in a recent podcast, not recent, but whatever, about the Amazon ads with the plushy bread, and I'm like, okay, and then Facebook's recommending this, but they're listening to me on this podcast through my phone. That's what I'm thinking. That's the only, or what?
Or I don't know what your internet searches
or,
are.
you know, because we watched those videos on YouTube of people smooshing their faces into bread too. So all this is connected, but I'm letting you guys know that
it's a whole conspiracy.
I'm a person who falls into rabbit holes, okay?
Jill really started the group. She's just trying to brush it off.
I'm the group leader.
She's the cult leader.
Queen garlic bread over here, but but I'm like in that group and I'm like scrolling through, and there's like some funny memes in there. But on this other Facebook group that I was going to talk about before we got sidetracked with bread, you know, I was honestly expecting the worst, because when it comes to this kind of stuff, especially if we go back to like the TikTok episode or stuff that's like infuriating, I was like literally like Facebook. I don't really like Facebook for like these groups people go into, because it just seems like very, I don't know. What?
A mess.
It just seems, it seems like a mess, and I'm like, this is just gonna cause me more unnecessary stress in my brain than I need. But honestly, some of it wasn't that bad. But the things that I did found that were bad were just like, oh no,
unacceptable.
You know?
So let's start with the first one. And again, we're sharing this information so that it's like, all right, you know, maybe like people who are new to this or trying to get into this and don't understand what is acceptable and what's not, right? That's what we're just trying to share this information. So what is unacceptable? Sketchy questionnaires. So we're going to start off pretty harsh, but so somebody, I guess, posted a client questionnaire.
Yeah, they were asking.
They're like, is this normal?
Oh yeah. This person was like, well, I'm looking for like a trainer or a coach. Is this normal to ask in a client questionnaire? Do you want to do the honors, or should I?
I'll do it, yeah. So It was asking questions first, like, you know, are you on birth control?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is your menstrual cycle?
Yeah.
Normal
you know,
question.
Stuff to notice.
And then it was asking, you know, are you sexually active? How many times a week do you have sex? Can you orgasm with sex?
How many times a week do you orgasm?
Excuse me?
I know.
How is this relevant for a online nutrition coach? I mean, like, I could maybe understand if this was a, you know, you were going to see a sex therapist. Okay, that's appropriate. But if you are this is a
online
group for
for competitors.
So this is not a sex therapist questionnaire.
It's a female competitor Facebook group.
Yes. So this is totally off base. Jill told me we were discussing this as we were going to get coffee earlier, and I was like.
Like your face, you were just like, I think you were drinking your coffee and you were just like mid-sip and your eyes just like weren't really wide. I was like, yeah, I know what you're thinking.
So inappropriate. So
it's like, there's no way like this is like, there's no way you can spin it
this
to be okay.
This is not relevant, like at all. So there are certain questions that might seem invasive, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, have you had an eating disorder or disordered eating tendencies?
Yeah, but that's
what is your menstrual cycle? Those are relevant questions that might be hard to share, but those are at least relevant.
Yeah.
Asking about those types of things, not relevant. If it does not involve, you know, what we're doing here, and I get, you know, we always talk, everything's connected, but there are some things that you can just leave out. You know, we don't need to know.
Yeah, some stuff that we don't need to go over.
Especially, like, I just, horrified. So, sketchy questionnaires are something. So if you ever are, you know, reading an application and you're like, this is an interesting question, you know, this is possibly a little off base, you know, maybe ask the person if you want to even continue filling it out, right? Because maybe you just see that and you're like, if I saw that, I'd be like, I'm not fucking filling this out. Yeah. But if maybe something else that you're not aware of, hey, why did you want me to, I didn't fill this out yet, but like, why did you want me to answer that? And if there's a good reason, again, like an eating disorder history. Hey, why do you need to know that? Well, that's important for us to, you know, notice red flags, notice your history, Like, do we need to refer out? Like, those are important questions. How many times a week do you orgasm? None of my business.
Yeah, none of my
business.
business.
Do you, right? Mm-hmm. So, don't need to know about that. And if you want to share, that's fine. But that's not something that it should be even remotely on an initial intake form.
Yeah, that's like not.
Hey, I would just be like, how are you interested in this? Like, how are you going to work this information into my program? I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Like, is this
like one of the determining factors in whether I become a client?
Yeah.
I feel a lot of pressure. What?
There is just I try to like reason a lot of things. Like, okay, what?
But there's like really like no purpose. I don't.
No.
No.
So if you ever feel uncomfortable, either just fuck that, don't fill it out. Or if it is something,
out of there.
Or if you are kind of unsure, just ask and see how the potential coach responds. Another big topic that you said was in there was breast augmentations and breast implant illness. So two different sides of the coin.
Yeah, there was one question in there. There was actually a couple. I mean, I scrolled down quite a bit, but people asking if it's worth it. Especially in the competitor lens, like, I mean, we've always said this, like, if you're competing, there's no need to get them if you truly don't want them for yourself. So that goes without saying. But there are people in this group asking, are they worth it? Especially with, I guess, recovery, how you train, all that stuff that's, good to know when you decide to go through, especially afterwards. But there were, there was quite a lengthy comment section, and that's where a lot of the BII comments came in, and a lot of the fear mongering type of stuff that you can see there. Some of the comments honestly, like, a little bit frustrated me, which is where I was like, I think I texted you, I was like, this is stupid, like, I'm logging off.
I was like, okay.
This is so...
I was like, dude, you don't have to look through it if you don't want.
Yeah, I was like, how do you say that? It's just, some of the comments in there just overboard in my opinion, but
as with most Facebook groups. But so we've said it before, if you want to get an augmentation because you want to get an augmentation, do that. Or can they enhance your physique? Certainly. Obviously, they can detract if you have too big of implants as well. There are plenty of people who you see and you're like, man, it just totally throws your balance off, especially if you're a really petite person and you have these huge implants. If you don't have anything to off balance that, it can look, it looks the same as when you're very, very flat and then you have, like, let's say a bigger lower body, right? And that can be disproportional. If you have this smaller lower body and you're just very petite and then you have huge implants, that can also be detracting. But if that's what you like, fucking do that. Like, you know what I mean? Not everything is about the stage, right? Like, you have to live your life how you want to live it.
Yeah. Like, you're going to be in your body regardless of whether you're on stage or not.
Yes.
So that should be a personal decision, not a decision the stage makes for you.
Exactly. Like, the size, the type, if you even get them, all of that should be determined on, do I want to have these every single day of my life versus for 5 minutes on stage? Maybe a few times ever, right? Even if you compete for years and years and years, you're still only doing a certain amount of shows, you know what I mean? So you have to really like them. As far as recovery and limitations and all that, it does depend, obviously, on the person, the size, how you recover from stuff. I would say if you are a competitive power lifter who is benching, it can be tough to go under the muscle because they're literally cutting the muscle. So that can be, if you're trying to set world records as a power lifter,
that's be something to consider.
Maybe that wouldn't be the best idea. I know people who have them over the muscle for that reason, who do want to train chest more. So that is an option if you want to do that. Again, are you doing this for your sport, or are you doing this for you? Like, you have to decide how you want to do this. But then I also know people who do bench quite a bit, who do have implants. I know people who do CrossFit who have implants, who don't have any issues. So it really just depends on the individual, and so many different factors. So I would say you need to take that into consideration. But if you're worried about the short-term recovery, and we talked about this before, like, if you can't take some time off from training,
absolutely.
that is a little bit of a red flag.
That whole 6 to 8 to 10 weeks, depending on your doctor. Let's
just say 12 weeks, right? Like, for 12 weeks, you're not going to be training how you want to train.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can't do that,
I would say even when I got back in the gym, I wasn't training nearly like I do now. So those few weeks that you're allowed to get back in the gym still aren't going to be...
No. So let's just say, okay, written off 12 weeks. I'm not going to really make any progress.
If you can't take a step back from training for that amount of time...
Then you shouldn't get implants.
Yeah.
Or maybe you need to evaluate, some other things.
Actually,
right?
I've gotten DMs about that too. It's like, did you actually listen to the 6 weeks? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah. I just had a major surgery.
Yeah, I'm not going to put
people don't
this
think,
at risk,
First of all, not just you can put the implants at risk, right? You can put the implants at risk for, not settling right, for separating, all of this stuff. But also, your body is recovering from a surgery. You should be taking that seriously. Not popping stitches, because you wanted to go do cardio.
Yeah. It's were you kind of lenient with it? It's no. I listened to my doctor's advice. That's what you should do too.
So crazy to me.
No,
like,
yeah. It's
they're
like,
not saying this for the fuck of it.
No, yeah. It's not like they want you not to train. Like, trust me, like, you had your body cut open, you went through surgery, you need to recover.
Please recover. And we'll talk, quickly on BII because it is such a hot topic issue. And obviously there's a bunch of different perspectives here. We're not trying to say that we're experts whatsoever. But I will say that there, like anything else, there are some people who are more susceptible to issues than others.
Yeah.
That's the way that everything works. It's the way that some people have, hormone issues or gut issues or autoimmune issues. Right. Like everybody's predisposed to different things, right? So you might be somebody who is predisposed to have more of an autoimmune reaction if you already have autoimmune issues, or if you're already somebody who just kind of deals with that. So oftentimes that that's where we could see these issues, right? And oftentimes the people that I've seen, at least people who have in the competitor world, who have gotten them when they're very, very, very lean and then had them put in right away, I would just say that your body's already in like a lower immunity perspective, right? Like you're just kind of not like rocking on all cylinders at that point. So I would say it could just be a lot more stress on your body at that point to do it. So if you are somebody who is competing or is a competitor and is thinking about getting implants, I would say you should get to surgery when your body is in a very calm and like, normal state, not dieting, and it's going to be easier for the implant and the recovery, to be super honest, because if you're super lean and your skin is so tight, it's just going to be a lot harder. But
if it's like less room, it's just going to be
so certainly with BII, are there risks with getting implants? Yes. I am not going to say that is a fake thing at all, but one of the issues that that we've kind of run into with it is that the symptoms are so vague.
Very broad.
They can encompass literally 20 other disease states as well. So it's one of those things that like, is it that or is it something else? And it could be that. Certainly could be, but it could be some other things too. So I wouldn't say that is the first thing if you're having some of those issues that it might be that. Again, it could be, but it certainly is one of those things that every decision that you make has a risk. Any surgery that you get has a risk. You can have any type of surgery and have a risk from it. You can pick something up in the operating room. You can have a bad reaction to medicine. Things happen all the time. We just don't hear about them, but they happen all the time. So just important to take into consideration that anything that you do, there is a risk, and I would just say to stay on top of it.
Do your research.
Notice any changes that you're noticing, you're experiencing. Try to pinpoint some of the symptoms. Try and pinpoint, what else could it maybe be? And again, that's totally your decision. And I think that the fear mongering behind it, I understand people are trying to get the message out because they want, they're like, oh my gosh, I was, I dealt with all these issues. I don't want other people to deal with them. But I do think there's a way to go about it. And it's not as straightforward.
That was my main, I guess the main thing I saw in the comment section. It was just you're gonna XYZ. It's very, very drastic.
One-sided. And not looking at
the entire picture.
Some people could deal with this, many won't, right? It's one of those things that you just have to...
It's just very, just because one person has a reaction doesn't mean it's going to happen every single time.
Yes. And again, it is a risk. Everything has a risk.
And that's where risk comes in.
Understand that. So it's just like anything. If there's rarely something that is so this is what you should or shouldn't do. There are very few things in life that are, in our opinion, should be looked at that way. So that's all we'll say on that. One of the other things that people talked about, which was what was the girl a month into prep, and she's like, my boyfriend doesn't work out, should I break up with him or whatever?
It was it's becoming increasingly hard to manage my relationship and my goals and my dedication and stuff, and should I break it off or something? Basically should I end my relationship because I want this other competition, or if I want to live this lifestyle. Refer
to our podcast on healthy relationships and what those look like, because that is not a normal response. And okay, I get it. If somebody doesn't doesn't train, doesn't understand your goals, is belittling you for your goals.
That's another story.
Oftentimes, it's just a misunderstanding, like with most things.
Yeah.
When somebody doesn't get it, it's because they don't understand it. It's not because they have this deep-seated hatred for whatever.
Yeah, it's not because, if someone comes off like that, oftentimes it's just because they don't really know why you're doing it or what the point is, or and that kind of leads, I mean, I feel like it could be connected to, I know like some clients are always kind of like, hey, like, how do you manage like your relationship and prep? Like, if you're already in like a long-term relationship, right? Maybe they are into health and fitness, but you've never prepped before. And that can also be a concern for people going into prep, because that's another realistic, I would say sacrifice, but you know, a lot of things you can work around as far as eating out and just making boring choices. But you know, a lot of people are concerned about that and have anxiety about starting prep because, but what about my relationship and my social events and, you know, going out to dinner and date nights and stuff. And that's something that people also bring up in this same kind of topic.
And those are legitimate things to consider. You know, we don't want you to not consider them because it is a substantial change to what you're doing. And there are going to be a lot of times and a lot of things you have to say no to. But if you've worked on, you know, your relationship with food and, you know, your communication skills with everybody, you will be able to handle doing those things. And probably gonna have to make a really boring choice. But it doesn't mean that you can't eat out. I like it. It's just one of those things that I had to adapt to without even really thinking about it when I was prepping, because I just didn't even want to not do that. Now, I'm not going out of my way to go do that, right? I'm not like, I want to eat out every night. Like, no,
but things come up. And like, I've been in prep before where I was probably like 2 weeks out at the time. I had a wedding to go to, right? That's where you have to make it work. And like, you know, be prepared, bring your stuff with you, right? I had a meal bag, super convenient. But that's where it's like, as much as I would partake in this fully if I weren't dieting, I have made this choice. I have these specific goals in this given timeline. And, you know, this is just a sacrifice I have to make for this period of time. But I know that these things aren't gone forever, though. And that's where you kind of have to make that choice, too, especially when it comes to date nights and stuff. It's like, this isn't forever, but I do have this goal that's important to me right now.
Yeah, and there are non-food related things that you can do with people. Like, there's, like, it doesn't just have to be about eating.
There's, like, active or, you know, activity related date nights,
totally
or
do that,
things you can
or even just like we're gonna watch a movie and like just be together, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't even have to be anything that you're like, you can be like, man, like, I'm really spent from the week, like, I don't want to go do anything, but we really wanted to watch this or whatever, like something as small as that. It's just about being together, and that's where that communication comes in, and the other partner needs to understand, hey, you don't need to do this. Like I could be saying, you don't need to do this, but here's what I'm going to be doing, and here's what we're going to kind of have to work around. I don't want you to feel like you need to change. And I find that that's kind of where the misunderstanding comes in, because say like I started prep and then I was like, you need to be dieting, why aren't you training? And I've never said those things before, and the person's like, what the fuck? Like, whoa, like,
where is this coming from?
I've never worked out, or I've never lifted, or I've never eaten like this, and now you're doing a prep for 1 month and now you're expecting me. Of course that person's gonna feel very like threatened, and because you're like literally attacking them. So you have to understand, okay, this is a conversation or multiple conversations that need to be had, which are not comfortable, they're not easy, but you know, if you actually care about your relationship, which maybe you don't, like, I don't know, it kind of sounds like it if that's what you're saying, but if you do care about this, you know, and for any future relationship too, maybe not just this current one, but any future one that you have, and this doesn't just go for romantic relationships, this goes for your friends and your families and your coworkers. Like, you can't just be like, I'm a prop, and like, you know, expect everybody to like everybody change their life.
It's actually funny because I mean, Steven and I started dating when I was in prep, and I would post videos of like him like eating brownies or cookies, like when I'm like still like deciding on you know, prepping and stuff. People would be like, oh my god, like, how do you do that? Like, aren't you mad? I'm like, no,
why would I be
like
mad?
He has no obligation to change the way he eats around me just because I'm dieting.
No,
you know?
that's like the craziest thing.
I'm like, there's no point in me being mad about it either, because like I have this goal, and it is what it is, you know. But that was a super common thing that happened to me at that point, just because for me it's like funny, because I'm like, look, like, whatever.
It's not an
like,
issue.
It's not an issue. You're
not like actually upset. Like,
no, but it's like, oh, aren't you like mad? Like, shouldn't you like tell him to leave the room? I'm like, no.
Yeah, please leave the room while you're eating this delicious
in your own house. Okay.
So yeah, that comes down to a lot of different things, right? So there's a lot of layers there, but we really want people to understand that these types of questions, like they're very like intricate, you know what I mean? And some of these, so the other ones that are like, we're gonna just like kind of knock off, like this all goes back to the theme of like, talk to your coach and not just random people. So a few of the common ones you saw. Okay, so I fucked up with my diet. Like, should I do extra cardio? Should I like diet more? Should I puke?
Yeah, okay. Like, should I drink a lot of water? Like,
why are you asking people here?
Yeah, like this is something you need to be transparent with your coach about, because your coach can actually take that information and adjust it with you. Yeah, and they can even allow you, like, if you're honest with your coach, that's above all the most important thing, because your coach can't make appropriate changes or even help you work through instances where you may be tempted to go off your diet again if they don't know it even happened in the first place.
Yeah, generally those behaviors aren't just happening once, right? Like, it's going to be something that we can actually work around, and we need to do that. So, okay, how are we actually going to work around this? Or another common one was like, oh, my coach isn't allowing me substitutions. Okay, well, is this a conversation that you can have with your coach about, hey, like, I'd really like to work this in, or, change this out? Or is this where it's like, all right, maybe this coach isn't a good fit because they're just absolutely shutting everything down that I want to do.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, I'm only allowed to drink like black coffee and water, like nothing in my coffee. Yeah.
That word is always like,
allowed? No. Yeah. But yeah, it sounds like one of those, like, I have a food list and I can't,
Very common, but that's where you're like, all right, can I,
you talk
where
to
is this
them,
dialogue?
Or, is this like a non-negotiable and maybe I need to find a different coach?
Exactly, if it's that important to you,
Yeah.
right? Okay, is this just maybe not, our goals don't align, or maybe they do, but just not on that one thing, right? Like, where is this line? And again, asking people who have no context of the conversations between you and your coach, probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
And then one of the last ones that you brought up was like, my coach told me I'm not ready, like it crushed me, like what should I do? And it's like, again, I understand that like this person is probably like venting or whatever, but this is just a common thing. Like, oh, I'm not. If you have a coach who is looking out for your best interests,
especially when it comes to being ready for the stage,
they're not telling you this because they don't want you to compete.
Odds are they want you to be ready, and that's actually a good thing in your coach for telling you, hey, like, I'm being honest, like, we're not 4 weeks out or 5 weeks out or 8 weeks out, like, we need more time. And oftentimes that's the answer. It's not like, what do I do? Like, do I
absolutely
quit prepping, or is this for me? It's not about that. It's just about, you need to work with the timeline that's going to be appropriate for you.
And, a good coach will say, hey, we can do this show. We might not be 100% on, but we can do this, or we can push another 4 weeks and do this show. Like, right, like that's, you're just laying it out. If you really want to do this one, I don't think that you're going to be 100% ready, but here's the other option, or what, and again, that's where having these discussions with your coach, and I understand this person, for that exact situation was just kind of down. But that's where that scenario is really important to talk to the coach about. Why, is it because you think that I'm not ready, or like, because this person, are they like internalizing like, oh, I'm not ready, am I just like a failure? Or is the conversation, no, you're going to be ready in this amount of weeks, it just, things didn't work out.
I think they mentioned, like, I've only been dieting like 12 or 14 weeks too, which is also another part of this where it's like, you can't put hard numbers on your diet, and refer to the first podcast.
Yeah, refer to our previous podcast. What not to do for your first show.
They're all connected. So nice.
We try to do a good job with that. Not always, but I feel like sometimes we do.
But that's a good point, though, because it's like, you can't put hard numbers on that stuff either. And just because you don't prep in 12 weeks doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you're, I would say, following the majority of people.
Yes, I would say that very few people successfully have a 12-week prep. Of course, there are people who do, and that's awesome if you can do a 12-week prep. But I would say the majority of people cannot. So don't hold yourself to that. And really the overarching theme here is like, maybe asking your coach, first. Obviously, for that first one we talked about, the questionnaire, being able to find a credible and reliable coach before you ask them, because obviously...
We also have a podcast on that.
I think we do. Yeah, I don't know what number that is. We're really bad at that, but we have a lot of podcasts.
We have a lot of podcasts. I would just go and like listen to all of them consecutively and then leave a review.
Please.
That's the best advice.
That would be the best advice. Just download them from like all different devices.
Oh, yeah. That works too.
That works. But really, I was going through because I was trying to find something for somebody, and I was like, damn, like we really do have like
A lot of reviews?
a lot of podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Jill's
Reviews? Let me watch and read.
I don't even know where to read those, but I'm sure I could find it, but I haven't read them, so hopefully they're good. But people just leaving like shit reviews, like.
I think I went to I don't know if I went to the Apple Store or.
Yeah, I don't think you can review on Spotify.
I would hope so. I haven't looked on Spotify.
I don't know, but I actually listen. This was pre-Rogan. I listen to podcasts on Spotify because I just like. I've always liked it because I like listen to music on there, so it would just be easy to like find the podcast. But so I was always like, oh, okay, this is like whatever. I like listening on here anyway. But I don't know if there's that feature. But I would not be surprised if there's going to be a lot of podcast changes because of his show, obviously. I know people were like heated over because everybody loved, per what they said, his YouTube community, like the comments. People liked that community, and there are no comments obviously on Spotify, but there's no comments on iTunes either. But anyways, so I think that they're adding that, but that could just be like a Rogan feature because they also have video on his, and I'm like, I don't know, unless like I don't have a video because it's like our podcast, not. But I do think he's the only one with video podcast because I've never seen any other podcast that I've listened to on there. I've never pulled it up and seen that, but
interesting.
I also wouldn't know how to upload that, so it could be user error. So there's
user error.
Always
Lauren error.
Yeah, it's just a Lauren error.
Loren error.
Loren. Yeah, they put my coffee Loren. I'm like,
it's like Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Worst character ever.
I knew that would annoy you.
That would just makes my blood boil.
My blood.
He's such a bad Sith character.
I just watched the last movie actually not too long ago.
For the first time?
Yeah, I was really late on it.
What?
I know, I've been terrible.
Okay, I mean,
I've been watching a lot of movies actually.
Okay, what did you think?
I liked it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously the new trilogy.
I mean, I'm kind of sad that it's over, but.
I mean, I don't know. Hopefully the next one's like a little better.
Real quick.
I mean, okay. So some people are like crazy particular about movies, right? I'm not that person. I can be entertained fairly easily, right?
Yeah, me too.
I generally try to find the positives in movies. There's only been a few movies ever that I've watched and I'm like, damn, that was awful, right? Like, just don't care that much. But if we're comparing the new ones like to the old ones, I mean, it's just not even remotely the same planet. And I just felt like there was some stuff that was so drawn out, like unnecessarily, you know what I mean? That you were just kind of like, why is this in here? I don't know. There was a few things that was like, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I don't hate it, but
I was like,
I mean, episodes 4, 5, and 6 are just will always be
better.
I mean, they'll just always be better. And so anyways, Star Wars rant over. When in doubt, talk to your coach instead of random people on the internet. But the first prerequisite to that is finding a good coach. So if you do see anything that is really sketchy on a questionnaire, ask them or just run if it is what we talked about earlier. So that's all for this week. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. You can visit teamlocofit.com to send us an email or apply for coaching or check out any of the podcasts that we have. Subscribe to our newsletter. Everything is on there. And then also in the show notes, there is an area to submit your questions. So we've had some really great ones that we're going to start working in again. So if you want to submit anything, they are anonymous, so you can provide as much detail as possible. And yeah, that's it. Bye.
2 thumbs up.